is. Okay, so let's get started. We don't have that much time. So let's read the Mizmor, review the method, and then hack at it. Okay, so Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm by David or for David. We don't know. I don't know what the whole Mizmor thing is, like what there's between Mizmor and Lam Natseach and all that stuff. Hashem ro'i lo echsar. Hashem is my shepherd, I will not lack. Bin os desha, in fertile fields or meadows. Yarbi Sani, he causes me to lie down. Al mei menuchos, on like tranquil waters. I assume that means like aside tranquil waters. Yanahaleni, he will guide me. Nafshi yeshovev. I got to look at my translation here. He restores my soul. Oh, this part is a chiddush here. Yanchini b'magleit tzedek l'ma'an shemo. He will guide me. So magleit tzedek, you usually translate tzedek as like righteous. But Abraham ben Rambam, according to my blog post, which I don't remember where he said this, means on level paths. Tzedek can also mean like even or like a middle path.
Makes sense.
Good. Yeah. Well, the reason why I think this is good is has to do with where the pivot point is, which we said in the introductory here, but I'll read through the whole thing first. So he guides me on level paths, L'man Shemo, for his name's sake. Gam ki elek begates almaves, even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death. Yeah, it's a classic line. Yeah.
I always thought in my head it was gates almaves, like gates.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep. No. Yeah. Gates almaves. Yeah, there was a in the 90s when I was a kid, there was a rapper named Coolio who made this line famous in one of his raps. and then what else happened? And then Gates almaves. Oh yeah, and then not what else happened. In this is the Chazal's nickname for Talmud Bavli. The Valley of the Shadow of Death. Yeah, compared to Yerushalmi, because I guess it's much more difficult. That's not what we're learning though. Yeah. So in the Valley of the Shadow of Death. I also think that'd be a cool name for a person, Saul Mavis.
Sounds like a good band name.
It is, yeah, definitely, yeah. Copyrighted right now. Low era.
Homosexual band.
Yes, it's true. It worked out. Only for the English speaking crowd. Lo ira ra, I will not fear evil, or I won't fear harm. I guess harm is probably more apt here. Ki ata imadi, because you were with me. You Hashem are with me. Shivtecha umishantecha, your staff, and okay. So this is like these are like synonyms. Shevet and Mishan. Mishan is something you lean on, right? Like Mishan, we've talked about Tzadikim. So make of that what you will. So your staff and your rod, I think that's how they translate it here. Yeah, your rod and your staff, whatever. Hema yanachamuni. They will comfort me. Taroch lefanai shulchan. You will set a table before me. Neged tzorah, in front of my tormentors. Dishanta bashemen roshi. You anointed my head with oil. Dishanta is like you made like lush, but I think it's with oil is like you saturated my head with oil. Kosi revaya, my cup overflows. Ach tov v'chesed yurdefuni kol yimei chayai. Only good and kindness will pursue me all the days of my life. V'shavti b'vis Hashem l'orach yamim, and I will dwell or I will sit in the house of Hashem for long days. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so review of the method. 4 questions. What is the main idea? What is this about as a whole? 2, what is it saying in part? Meaning, what is each part saying and how does it contribute to the main idea? 3, is it true? Right? How do we know to the satisfaction of our own mind? 4, who cares? What's the practical, not practical application like Mishlei, but what impact is this supposed to have on me in terms of my view of God, my relationship to reality, et cetera, et cetera. So what impact is supposed to have? So like I said last time, we have to prioritize here. So we're going to prioritize questions 1 and 4. What is this saying as a whole? And then what is this saying? What is the point of this? Because those are the most pressing questions. Then if we have time, we'll go over the particulars and then like the practical implication. So that's method 1, or I guess method 2. Method 3 is the pivot point. So last time, or not last time, in the intro, we said, anyone remember what the pivot point we said is? And we could dispute this. 5, yeah, right? So 5 and on is distinct from 1 through 4. So what makes that the pivot?
Back from sheep to human.
Yeah, sheep to human, right? So 5, I'm going to highlight this in the color here. Let's do green. 5 and on, and then 1 through 4. So in 1 through 4,
I just remember I listened to the other Shiur recording,
yeah.
and when like in 5 when he talks about Shem preparing his tables, you said like sheep don't sit at a table with a fork and a knife.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
thought
it's true.
It was just funny.
Yeah. Yeah, so 1 through 4, he's a sheep, and then 5 until the end is a human. So that's a good pivot. You might be able to make other pivot points, and then there's a question on this pivot. What anyone find a disproof of this pivot here? Yeah. What either
6 seems to be part with the first.
6.
With the first part.
So what's the problem?
I mean the whole Indian of like being kind of led in like a peaceful manner.
Yeah.
And like being with God. Like God is your shepherd, and then house of God for long days where you'll dwell.
Okay, well, so I'm not so bothered by that because, what we're saying with the sheep and the human is like the sheep is the mashal and the human is the nimshal. So it is going to follow in a certain sense, But there's one thing, like at least in the first part, that the sheep don't do. Yeah, Joe?
Yeah, and 4, which says I will fear no harm, for you're with me.
Yeah.
Like sheep don't have like that level of consciousness. Where, like, no, but I'm saying like the rest.
How do you know?
The rest of it, he's really like
Yeah.
a really passive actor in action and like
Yeah.
thought, and there his thought is active.
Okay, so look at the no, don't look at this. It's not here. Plane shot. Yeah, Shanley?
Are the last 2 psukim supposed to be about David specifically? Because it doesn't really sound like David's life.
Oh, good question. This is another methodology question, right? Is that there are 3 modes of Tehillim. There's David biographical, which is either about David specifically or like Yachid. Then there's like the Yachid, meaning like the tzaddik, like David. And then there's 2 is Klal Yisrael, about the nation, and then 3 is about all human beings. Okay, so what intuition do you have there in terms of what mode it is or is not?
Not all.
Ezra.
Okay, we got 2 things, right? So we got Yaakov says not all human beings. What did you say that?
I think the reason to fear they go in the shadow.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like he's getting like extra special protection here, right?
Yeah.
And then not Klal Yisrael. Like I don't think anything is here indicating this is about like Klal Yisrael as a nation. Right?
Can I ask why? Because I feel like it is.
Okay, I mean you could say that it's
the end, like the last few psukim, it just sounds like all like allusions to like Beit HaMikdash and like.
Yeah, but is that a thing about like I don't know? I don't know. Is that like a Klal Yisrael thing? Like the Klal Yisrael dwell in the Beis HaMikdash? I feel like individual tzaddikim dwell in the Beis HaMikdash.
Interesting. Okay.
You could say that. I mean, look, there's no proofs either way because a lot of the Mefarshim say all the things. But what was I gonna say? Did you say something, Jeff?
No.
No. Someone said something. Hold on.
Well, it does sound like it's talking about a leader of Klal Yisrael, sort of,
Really?
because it says you anointed my head with oil,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the weird thing, right? Because he's a sheep, and a sheep is not a leader.
and you will prepare a table before me in view of my tormentors. Like,
Yeah,
One
I mean,
just prepared-
definitely, right. He definitely sounds like a prominent individual there, right? But in the mashal, he's like a member of the flock.
yeah, that's a big shift.
Right, but
Yeah.
flock like in reference to God, like that he is being led by God, not
True.
Like one of the masses.
But like, you don't even. There's no. I don't know animals. I don't think there's such a thing as an alpha sheep, right? You don't hear about alpha sheep, right? It's like not that that's a proof or anything like that, but like, yeah, right, exactly, yeah. It doesn't say wolf here. But just in terms of the thing I was trying to call your attention to here, what in 1 through 4 does not look like it's talking about sheep?
Soul.
Okay, soul could be the what was the Hebrew there? Nafshi, right? So nafshi is could be nafesh is animalistic soul, right? According to Rabbeinu Bach, Ibn Ezra, and Rabbeinu Yonah.
Nice.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah, nefesh is like a nefesh kol chai.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Laman Shmo.
Laman, right? For your namesake, right? So that's the thing that kind of sticks out there. Sheep are not striving for Shem Hashem. You know, that's a little weird. I'm going to highlight this in green just to highlight.
Is that what the pasuk is saying? It sounds like Hashem is doing a thing for Shem Hashem.
Right, he is, but like I don't know, like it's weird to even talk about sheep. Like in the mashal, it's still weird though. Even if the sheep aren't conscious of it, it's weird to like lead them for God's namesake.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Could that be explained as like God's intervention in like the world, or like God as creator?
So this is another question here, okay, is that he's talking here about God guiding and protecting and leading and all this other stuff and comforting. So the major question, and this is kind of what you have to ask a lot in Tehillim, is this hashgacha pratis or hashgacha klalis?
Feels like pratis.
Feels like pratis.
Yeah.
But it's using like what would generally be klalis. Like
Say again,
the sheep sounds like it would be generally be klalis.
Yeah,
but
sheep
needed a
don't
metaphor
get
then.
hashgacha pratis, right? It would be weird to use like a flock of sheep as a mashal for God having individual providence on beings.
Oh, no.
Unless that's to help for the pivot,
Right.
like to show that it's a mashal.
Yeah, right. It's hard to know how much to read into the mashal there in terms of like the yeah.
To me, the last pasuk, only goodness and kindness will pursue me all the days of my life, doesn't sound like hashgacha pratis to me, because I don't think Hashem like continuously gives only goodness and kindness through hashgacha pratis all the time. Sounds like
Well, I would say the opposite,
goodness.
right? Is that like right? What we're gonna say,
I'd
Joe?
also say the opposite. Yeah, I was gonna say the opposite. Yeah, because meaning definitely not all of humanity or all of Bnei Israel is gonna get constant good and kindness.
Yeah.
Tzaddik who's constantly connected to Hashem potentially could.
Yeah. It sounds like the average human is not going to be a recipient of goodness and kindness pursuing him. Certainly not kindness, you know. But tzaddik would, like Magen Avraham, like that's like the highest level of hashgacha, and like all God's providing all this good stuff for him constantly, you know.
Right.
That's how I took it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the idea?
I mean, the idea, like, I think kind of clearly this might be a little too general, is Hashem sustaining the individual.
Okay. How?
By bringing him to water, giving him food.
Yeah. So for the sheep, it's giving them like their what is it giving them? Meadows,
Lush meadows, tranquil
waters, and protection,
Yeah.
and leadership. Yeah. So what is the nimshal then for the individual then?
He sustains him with physical needs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lush meadows and tranquil waters.
Yeah. Be bold. Say the idea.
Yeah, hang on.
Don't be like a sheep.
Restores my soul.
Yeah.
I guess that's like a, like a psychological sustenance.
Yeah. So what's the subject?
And
Joe.
I guess.
And you were saying you were on the side that it's not hashgacha pratis, right?
No, I was saying it is.
Oh, you're saying it is. Oh, because it's all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Hashem, supporting the individual with his particular needs and I guess comforts and maybe like luxuries, like a step beyond that.
Okay.
Particular to him.
So it is one thing that's weird about that though. Again, is it's weird if you're using hashgacha pratis, then you're using the mashal of a sheep in a flock.
I mean, he doesn't really say the flock.
No, but sheep are in flocks. You don't have a shepherd with an individual sheep. That's like a lame.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, he is
a very, very unsuccessful shepherd.
That's true. But it does. I mean, just speaking of the sheep as the individual sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's a flock of sheep, you could have a favorite.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It seems like, at least in the sheep part, it seems like it's like guidance is the key idea. Like
yeah.
It's not like he's specifically giving the things. He's just giving the direction.
That is also true, right? It's not like a mashal of let's say, for example, first thing that comes to mind is, let's say, like a baby, of like feeding the baby. Right. This is like leading the sheep, steering them away from harm and steering them towards like good stuff. Yeah, that's true. That's good. That's a good solid. See, this is the difficulty of the Tehillim is like, I by the way, I'm totally lost when it comes to this. Like I think about it the same way you're thinking about it, but like because you have this tension here of like, you know, hashgacha practice of like individual provision of stuff and like just general guidance of like hard to tell.
Yeah.
That's why I go to the Ibn Ezra. Yeah. So you want to go to the Ibn Ezra?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this
Can
was
the person-
yeah.
Can the person that just said the idea say how like the end psukim like answer to the individual?
I don't know. Can he?
I'm just curious.
Can you say how the end psukim would match up with the way the direction you're taking? Because that does sound like more than just
I like the
leadership.
idea.
No, well, I guess
I'm just
if
curious.
you like are given guidance of exactly where the good things are,
Yeah.
then that's the same thing as always getting good things.
Right, because you're gonna get them.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's true. Okay, so when I don't remember when I prepared this. I guess we could look at the date of the blog post when I wrote it. The only interpretation we found that had anything remotely like satisfying was the Ibn Ezra, and it's in the middle. Okay, so look at the Ibn Ezra on pasuk hey. Okay, so I underlined the part that was like the and we didn't even accept the entire idea. Okay, I don't even remember who the we was. Might have been me and Levi Solomiak. I'm not sure. So he says like this. Okay, this is where he says the subject of the pasuk. I'm going to read from the beginning just in case we miss anything. Revaya, so my kos overflows. Tor Hashem, kamo isha chachamai. That's grammatical point. Umirov hadeshin hamat amim shem shulchan rosho medushan ki'iluhu bolu b'shem ran. All right, fine. I didn't need to read that. The tam zeh mizmor. Okay, the meaning of this mizmor. And remember, Ibn Ezra lingo, tam means meaning, not reason. Okay, the tam is synonymous for parish in Ibn Ezra language. Al avdei Hashem. This is about the servants of God. Ha'ozvim ta'avas ha'olam, who abandon the desires, the worldly desires. V'him smechim b'chelkam, they are content with their portion. V'yakshavu, and they think, ki lechem umayim keneged kol ta'anug hamatamim, that water and bread and water are equivalent to all like delectables, like all delicious enjoyments. Because their thoughts and their mind are on the enjoyments of olam haba. Alkain yanichu tanug rega bavur tanug olam. Therefore, they will forsake temporary enjoyment for eternal enjoyment. Alkain amar ach zos kol machashavti. That's why it says ach zos. Did you say ach zos? Or wait, what is that the quote? Ach tov. What was that?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's just Alkin Amar that's why it says only. Zos kol machashavti. This is my entire thought. Okay. So the subject, according to him, very interestingly, is Avdei Hashem and people who are sameach b'chalkam, and not sameach b'chalkam just in terms of like being content with what they have, but being content with their needs. Because they know that the real good is in Olam Haba.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what we did like about this, yeah. Well, comments.
Where do you see the Olam Haba part?
Yes.
Sounds like he's talking about Olam Hazeh in the end.
Yes,
So.
that's my big problem. So I think let's see what the Ibn Ezra. So he says, where do you see the Olam Haba part? Sounds like he's talking about Olam Hazeh in the end.
I mean, also, I don't understand him. But
Yeah.
He's literally saying this on the word revaya,
Yeah.
which is overflows. So what does your cup overflowing? That seems to be like the opposite of what he's saying.
So it sounds like what Ibn Ezra is saying is that he's saying that this is the experience that he has, that there's abundance.
So he feels like his cup's overflowing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's just bread and water.
Yeah, it's water and bread. Yeah.
But he experiences that. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. It's not just an exaggeration, which I'll try to prove in a second.
And you'd have to say the same thing about his head being anointed with oil. Presumably that's luxurious.
Right. That's a good question. There is like water is water, or cup is like it could be water.
Right.
What is the head overflowing with oil? Right. Yeah, Yaakov.
Beis Hashem is enough for Olam Haba.
Yeah. So Beis Hashem La'orach Yamim is where he would get Olam Haba from. That's to answer Isaiah's question. So I think what we didn't. I don't remember what we didn't like. I think we did though feel that it wasn't explicit enough about Olam Haba. even though L'Orach Yamim is Olam Haba. I mean, we took it from L'Orach Yamim. Beis Hashem is also a thing. But
I'm like reading it, the less I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me read this thing here. Okay. Now you can turn to the back. This is the perek from the More Nevuchim. Okay. And I think this is just a good like summary of the idea that Ibn Ezra is saying, and I think this will help us to like see it in the thing. Okay. So this is in the More Nevuchim in the Prakim about leading up to Eov. Okay. So he's talking about the causes of harm, and the context here is he says that like the Rambam's theory is that there's three causes of ra in the world, three causes of harm that you suffer. One is things that are just in the natural, the nature of physical matter, like people get sick, physical objects deteriorate, computers wear out, you got to get a new laptop on Black Friday.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I don't know. I couldn't find a deal. And the second cause is interpersonal ra, that people cause to each other through their free will, like people not giving me a deal for Black Friday. And the third cause is harms that you do to yourself, like me wanting to spend too much on a laptop. Okay. So
Freud be like, it seems like you have struggled.
Yeah. No, what makes you think that? All right, so this is the context. This class of self-inflicted harms originates in man's flaws, such as excessive desire for eating, drinking, and sex, indulgence in these things in undue measure or in improper manner, or partaking of unhealthy food. This course brings diseases and afflictions upon the body and the soul alike. The suffering of the body in this regard is well known. Those of the soul, obviously we even in the Rambam's time they knew this. If you overeat, you're going to get sick, like unhealthy, not just like throwing up. Those of the soul are twofold. First, such harms of the soul are as are the necessary consequence of changes in the body, insofar as the soul is a force residing in the body. It has therefore been said that the properties of the soul depend on the condition of the body. So in modern terms, this means if you are unhealthy, let's say, for example, like you overeat and you don't get enough sleep, and like you watch too much TV, or you eat empty calorie foods, it's gonna affect your energy levels. It's gonna affect your mood. Your soul is gonna be affected by it because your soul is dependent on the powers of the body. Yeah.
I heard an lecture from Jordan Peterson this afternoon.
Yeah.
That I think after the age of 30, your IQ basically begins to just deteriorate unless you actively sustain it. And the only way to maintain IQ is not through intellectual like endeavors. It's only through physical maintenance of the body.
Really?
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know what the research he was quoting, but
Yeah.
that's what it said.
Okay.
Yikes.
Noted. Thanksgiving's tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. So that's one effect on the soul, because the soul is dependent on the body. Secondly, the soul, when accustomed to superfluous things, acquires a strong habit of desiring things which are neither necessary for the preservation of the individual nor for that of the species. This desire is without a limit, whereas things which are necessary are few in number and restricted within certain limits. But what is superfluous is without end. You notice how I hijacked this for Koheles here? This is very Koheles. For example, you desire to have your vessels of silver, but golden vessels are still better. Others have even vessels of sapphire, or perhaps can be made of emerald or rubies, or any other substance that could be suggested. Okay, the latest iPhone. Those who are ignorant and perverse in their thoughts are constantly in trouble and pain because they cannot get as much of superfluous things as a certain other person possesses. They will often expose themselves to great dangers, for example, by sea voyage or service of kings. Really interesting juxtaposition as a side note here. The danger you're exposing yourself to sea voyages and to like political dangers is very different, but he just lumps them together because they're both like superfluous, and all this for the purpose of obtaining that which is superfluous and not necessary. When they thus meet with the consequences of the course which they adopt, they complain of the decrees and judgments of God. They begin to blame God and are astonished by his perceived injustice, that he has not enabled them to acquire great riches with which they could buy large quantities of wine for the purpose of making themselves drunk, and numerous concubines adorned with various kinds of ornaments of gold, embroidery, and jewels for the purpose of driving themselves to sexual indulgence beyond their capacities, as if the whole universe existed exclusively for the purpose of giving pleasure to these low people. Yeah. The error of these ignorant goes so far as to say that God's power is insufficient because he has given to this universe the properties which they imagine cause these great evils, which do not help these imperfect persons to obtain the degenerate things which they seek and to bring their evil souls to the aim of their desires. though these, as we have shown, are really without limit, right? So God is imperfect for not giving me what I want, and my desires are perfect and totally in line with what I deserve. All right. The virtuous and the righteous, however, see and comprehend the wisdom of God displayed in the universe. Thus says David, all the ways of Hashem are kindness and truth to those who guard his covenant and his testimonies. For those who observe the nature of the universe and the commandments of the Torah and know their purpose, see clearly God's kindness and truth in everything. They seek, therefore, that which the Creator intended to be the aim of man, namely pursuit of knowledge. Where do we see that in the Mizmor? Yes, Laman Shema, right? For the sake of your name, right? That's the linchpin there, right? And that's in the middle. I don't know why. It has to be in there somewhere. I don't know why it's in the sheep part and not in the human part. But Laman Shema is for knowledge of God. Due to the needs of the body, they seek that which is necessary for bodily maintenance, bread to eat, garment to clothe, and this is very little. But they seek nothing superfluous. With very slight exertion, man can obtain his bodily needs, so long as he is contented with that which is necessary. All the difficulties and troubles we meet in this respect are due to the desire for superfluous things. When we seek unnecessary things, we have difficulty even in finding that which is necessary. That's a profound statement there, right? Yeah, because you feel so much that you lack stuff that you don't prioritize the stuff you actually need, and then you don't get it, and then and even if you get it, you feel like you're lacking. For the more we desire to have that which is superfluous, the more we meet with difficulties. Our strength and our possessions are spent in unnecessary things and are lacking when required for that which is necessary. Or literally you spend your resources, let's say the people who max out their credit cards for fancy cars and stuff, and then don't pay for their kids' tuition, or don't pay their house for their house, and then now he extends to nature. Observe how nature provides the correctness of this assertion. The more necessary a thing is for living beings, the more easily it is found, and the cheaper it is. The less necessary it is, the rarer and dearer it is. For example, air, water, and food are necessary to man. Air is most necessary, for if man is without air for a short time, he dies, while he can be without water a day or two. Air is also undoubtedly found more easily and cheaper than water. Water is more necessary than food, for some people can be 4 or 5 days without food, provided they have water. Water also exists in every country in larger quantities than food and is also cheaper. The same proportion can be noticed in different kinds of food. That which is more necessary in a certain place exists there in larger quantities and is cheaper than that which is less necessary. No intelligent person, I think, considers musk, amber, rubies, and emeralds as very necessary for man except as medicines, right? Anyone check the musk prices lately? And they, as well as other like substances, can be replaced for this purpose by herbs and minerals. It is no last paragraph, right? It is no wrong or injustice for one person to have many bags of the finest myrrh and garments embroidered with gold. The pleasures were different back then, fantasizing about myrrh and musk and other things that start with M. While another lacks those things which are not necessary for our maintenance, he who has them has not thereby obtained control over anything that could be an enhancement of his true nature, but has only obtained something illusory or deceptive. Loser. The other who does not possess that which is not wanted for his maintenance does not miss anything indispensable. And then this was the lesson of the mun. Whoever took more had nothing extra, and whoever took less was not lacking. Everyone according to what he eats had they gathered. That's the shot of the test of the mun, right? It's training them to only get what they need. And if you get a lot more, you're not going to actually get anything. If you get a lot less, you're going to get what you need. This is the rule at all times and in all places. No notice should be taken of exceptional cases, as we explained, which is a very important rule that the Rambam emphasizes a lot. You will find people who are not dying of lack of desire because they get everything that they want, but that's not the common case. Yeah. Okay. So now Kosi Ruvaya, my cup overflows. What do you say now?
Rambam doesn't say though that when you have the basic amount of nutrition, you should view that as abundance. At the end of the day, so it says it's overflowing. So it seems like, and also it could be though. It's not. I don't know if any indulgence at any level is necessarily bad. I don't know if that's clear in the Rambam. So
yeah, he's not really emphasizing that point.
Right. So
he's emphasizing more the desire, that the desire for superfluous things is bad.
Right. So if Hashem, the way I understood originally was that Hashem supplies the basic needs and then a little bit of luxury beyond that for just the sake of pleasure.
Yeah. So I do think there is room for your interpretation of the oil thing being luxury. but the overflowing thing I want to emphasize, like in light of the Rambam, obviously the Rambam wasn't written as a parish on this Mizmor or on the Ibn Ezra. Like, can you anyone give an interpretation of like the sense of abundance?
Yeah.
Not abundancy, right?
Abundant.
Abundance, right?
Abundant.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the sense of abundance in light of the Rambam?
Sounds to me like there's so much more out there than what he needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's not talking about what he gets. It's talking about how much there is. You know, it's the sense of posech esidach must be ratzon. Again, plain question. I know that we haven't learned Asher yet, but like plain question on that people ask is like, does God really satisfy the desire of every living thing? Well, if you're looking at the ratzon not as the artificial wants, but as the natural needs, then God provides everything for all creatures that they need to survive, and it's abundant. It's all there, you know, like air, water, food. But because we have wants that are way beyond our needs, we feel like we're lacking. If we modified our wants to be in line with our needs, then we would perceive the abundance. And that's the Sameach B'chalko emphasis that Ibn Ezra has here of like, for those who are content with what their needs are, for people who make their needs a priority, Laman Shemo, in order that they can pursue knowledge of Hashem, then they're like in a realm of abundance. And I think that's where the mashal comes in, because the sheep are not portrayed as being treated to sheep spas. They're being portrayed as getting normal sheep needs, but just in an excellent way. They're being guided to lush meadows. Sheep have grass, but this is like grass that's enough. They are being taken to waters, and like if you look at the I don't know if it's the Ibn Ezra or others, I can't remember who says what, but like the Mei Menuchos is what's the advantage of tranquil waters as opposed to
Easier to drink from.
Yeah, it's easier to drink from, because if you have sheep at rushing waters, they're gonna get swept away, or there's gonna be a lot of silt and like mud and stuff that's kicked up into the water. So they get water, but it's like, it's good water.
Fiji.
Yeah, Fiji. And they're protected from harm. That's the one that's also harder in the Ibn Ezra's perspective. He doesn't. He says something where I'll read it just for the sake of transparency here. Not that we're committed to the Ibn Ezra, but like I think we interpreted it differently. But look at the Ibn Ezra on Daled. Gam. So Gam Kielach Begitz Hamavis, right? So he says, look at Gimel for a second. Gimel is Nafshi. So this is Nafshi Yishovev. Hiskir ki harohe lo yidak kenu laholichu mimire el mire benichutz rav beshuva v'nachta Nafshi Yishovev. I feel like there's punctuation missing there. He's not taking them from pasture to pasture. He's guiding them gently. Okay, but V'tam b'magle tzedek shlo yulichenu al givaos v'al amakim. He doesn't lead them on hills and valleys. He doesn't do this for me, rak laman shemo, but for his name's sake. Laman sapir shemo b'chol haaretz, in order to proclaim his name throughout the earth. Kihu roeh tov v'rachman ve'ein kamo, because he's a good shepherd and merciful, and there's none like him. Whether that goes in our approach, we'll see. All right, Gam Hatam im tikrenu gezeros hashemayim sheshem gazer mimekedem. If there are gezeros of the heavens that God decreed from early days, I interpret that to mean natural disasters, right? Gezeros hashemayim that God decreed from early days, meaning not like an onesh that comes up now. Lavo Ra Ba'olam, that brings bad into the world. Yidme Hara Legem Tzamavis, and then this Ra is considered like a valley of the shadow of death. Lo Ira Ra, I will not fear evil. Lo Ira Shara Yiheli, I will not be afraid that evil will come to me or harm will come to me. Ki Shivtecha Yira Eli Haderech, because your rod, your staff will show the way. Aj Eitze, until I can escape. V'zeh Hashevet B'hamish Enes Ba Yisnachem Libo, and through this staff and rod, I will be comforted. Vatam, and what does this mean? Kasher tavona shenas ra'a ba'olam, when a bad year comes to the world, like 2020, Yesovev sibos lachos mimbo, God will bring about causes or circumstances for those who trust in him, who take shelter in him. l'chayosam, to sustain them bara'av, in famine, l'hatim mimavs nafsham, and to save their soul from death. So that sounds like hashgacha pratis, but the way I understand it is if you prioritize your needs and Yedias Hashem, so then you will not have the same obstacles posed by bad years as would a person who's looking for abundance. A person who's looking for abundance, a bad year comes and they lose a bunch of money, and that's like a tragedy, you know. But someone who's prioritizing their needs and Yedias Hashem will find ways to sustain that. Obviously, this doesn't hold true for like years where everyone dies of famine.
In terms of psyche, is this like talking about the psyche of the person in those times, or like
a lot of this has to do with the psyche. I mean, it's not just the psyche, because you do have to get your actual needs, but I guess the overall point I'm trying to make from this whole thing is that actually, you know what, I want to do it just because my written memory is better than my mind memory. I just want to read the 4-sentence summary that Michael Bruce and I came up with for this. I'm going to send you guys the article about this also, the blog post I wrote, because I think, so in the blog, again, we have to end here in like 8 minutes. Did I spell Tehillim wrong? Tehillim.
1L.
What?
1L.
1L, yes.
And you're typing.
Yeah.
You should look on your wrist.
No.
Oh, I got a tattoo already.
I spelled with 2 L's, so I noticed that you spelled it.
What was I going to say? I'll go on my rant afterwards. So this is the 4-sentence summary. So I said, I think I did this with Levi. I can't remember. This perek is about the enjoyment, security, and tranquility attained by the individual whose life revolves around his needs instead of his wants, and certainly instead of his desire-fueled fantasies. The benefits of such a lifestyle are manifold. He will derive immense gratification when partaking of the most basic necessities. For example, experiencing a meal of bread and water as though he were eating at a feast with wine, like the mashal is. He will ride through life on an even keel of contentedness instead of a roller coaster of extreme highs and lows, as happens to most of humanity. He will face impending harm with equanimity, finding comfort in opportunities for insight that arise from such situations. And he will be free of the existential dread and depression of a meaningless existence, since his life revolves around the pursuit of knowledge. As a result of his prioritization of his needs and his recognition that God has provided his world with everything that is necessary, he will feel as though he's being pursued by goodness and kindness throughout his days, enabling him to devote his life to the pleasurable pursuit and contemplation of knowledge. That was another point that was a good thing. I think Rabbi Maruf mentioned, I think he was the one who asked in the last pasuk, what is stationary and what is moving?
What?
Look in the last pasuk.
Oh.
Goodness and kindness.
Yeah, goodness and kindness are the ones that are moving, and David is stationary, you know? So it's an interesting mashal of like the goodness and kindness are just flowing to him, you know, because it's just all out there, you know? And again, if you're looking for, if your sights are set on fantasies, then you're going to find a lot of lacking. But if your sights are set on your needs in order to facilitate knowledge of God, it's like just abundant. Like there's just stuff out there. Yeah.
Well, even if you're not like trying to get your wants, won't you still want those things?
Right. So this brings us to our final question, or our fourth question, which is, what's the purpose of this? And here I'm going to go on my rant. Okay. This is kind of directed at the class of 2019, even though are any of them here? No. Okay. Awkward. No, I didn't invite them. That's why it's awkward. Oh yeah, Hadass is here. Yeah. Yeah. No, you weren't part of the rant. So there were all these like crisis sessions over the summer of what it means to have a relationship with God. Okay. And we talked about this in our tefillah group, you know, and I had to give him a stern talking to that. Like, I think a lot of people, I'm not going to blame from society, but I will, that the basis of the relationship with God is special treatment. That's what people are looking for, you know? And I was saying how if you just read Tehillim, so much of Tehillim is David HaMelech relating to Hashem through being a human, through being in the world, through appreciating Yedias Hashem and Posech Hasidacha and providing all of his needs. And so the there is a level of relating to Hashem in terms of special treatment, but it's predicated on a relating to Hashem through appreciating like your role as a created being in nature, you know? And like, this is a good example of that like, so long as you are preoccupied with seeking excessive desires or seeking special treatment from God and like special protection and all this stuff, you're going to be very unsatisfied. The first level is recalibrating your desires to match what your needs are and to realign your values to Shem Hashem, to seeking knowledge of God. And then you'll realize all of the chesed and tov that Hashem has in the world. And that will allow you to ascend to a level where God will actually treat you specially. You know, that's the irony, you know?
I said ironically.
Yeah, right. Ironically, like that's the people who get special treatment are the people who are grateful for the normal treatment. You know, not the people who are like looking for like some special treatment from like the you know, like daddy in Shemaim to take care of you. You know, like that's not how God operates. You know, and so the answer is like part of saying of this Tehilim. Like when you say Tehillim, remember we said the Sefer Chinuch says that the purpose of saying Tehillim is to impress these ideas upon your emotions and to change the way you relate to God. Is recognizing that like this is what your priorities and values should be, and realizing that if you have these excess desires, then that's an impediment and that's going to make you unhappy, you know. And like going over these ideas repeatedly will help you realize that like you do have all the stuff that you need. You know, again, I'm not speaking like just like Ezra said or Rambam says, don't pay attention to exceptional cases. Like there are people in the world who can't even get water to drink, which won't make them sick, you know? But like,
that's systemic and interpersonal raw.
Yeah, that's due to human raw. That's also true, right? But like we certainly, speaking for ourselves, we have water, we have food, we have basic, you know, needs and shelter. And like, and it is a bad society we live in where like, so much excess is glorified and we feel that things that are superfluous are actually necessary, you know? So like it's like I read in the, I don't know where I read this. I read the Rav's footnote 4 in a shiur recently. I don't know when this was. It was this morning, last night, I can't remember. But like people want instant enlightenment without pain and without transformation. And like, you have to go through the pain and transformation of recalibrating your desires, and then you'll find that sort of like tranquility of like the being led on tranquil waters. But like it takes work, you know, like and you know, don't think that Tehillim is any exception to Torah. That like don't think that Tehillim can affect you without perfecting yourself. Everything is working on yourself. The only thing that changes is you. God doesn't change at all. You know, like the only thing that changes is you, and that's how you get a relationship with God. And this is like a means of doing it, and it's all through like prioritizing your natural, being sameach b'chalko, prioritizing your needs, eschewing superfluities, you know, and like and recognize how much tov and chesed there is out there, you know. Alrighty, so I'm gonna send the write up of this, and I explain each pasuk in line with this idea. But
so it really is a Kohelesi perek.
It very is, yeah. That's what it's not what attracted me to it, but that's why I was so relieved when I found the Ibn Ezra, because he explains it in entirely that way. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yep. Alrighty. So
no maybe
fear. Yeah.
This might be like too long of a question to answer in 1 minute, but the one thing that I think sticks out to me a little bit about this idea is the Salmavis stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that like I see this idea how it could make a lot of sense in like normal times. But let's say like with a natural disaster or something, that seems to be the type of situation where even a person who's very realistic and even keeled could fail to meet their needs.
Right. Yeah. I guess my question is what extent of raw is he talking about here? You know, like if he's talking about like a real famine where like people don't have their needs, then yeah, it's gonna be really really bad. And is Ibn Ezra saying when he says that God will arrange Sibos, is that talking about Hashgacha Pratis? I don't know. Like the way we took the Mizmor was about all human beings. Like when Levi and I learned it that way, Ibn Ezra might be taking into account Hashgacha Pratis at that point. I just thought that like impinged on the unity of the thing. Yeah. Alrighty. So I'll send you the thing and like let me know what you think, and next I don't know which one we're gonna do next, but next time will be on Tuesday, Bleeding Netter.
Cool.
All right.
Can we do the first perek
Thank you.
next time, maybe?
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, it's very
The
mixed.
first perek is good. First perek is a very mishlei.
Thank you.
Hey, cookie test.
Yeah. We'll do it all in one shot. We'll just read it the entire time. Cookie test. Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.